Good morning and welcome to CFO Coffee Talk number 16, brought to you by the Florida CFO Group. This morning's topic is CFOs and BuySide M&A. And I'm lucky this morning to have two experienced experts with me to help talk about this topic. An experienced M&A professional and CFO partner, Dean Barron. Morning, Dean.
Good morning.
And my partner with the M&A's, multiple M&A certifications, Don Noble. Morning, Don.
Good morning, Phil. Good morning, Dean.
Dean, let's kick things off by having you tell us briefly about your past M&A experiences.
Well, I was mainly with a growing software company that over 8 years we grew from about 10 million revenue to 400 million revenue, and along the way acquired two product companies, considered acquiring two more product companies, although we didn't close the deal, and acquired another company that had old products but a great sales and marketing distribution network outside of our company's reach. So good varied experience.
Lots of experience with growth through acquisition. Don, how about you? Tell us about some of your past experiences in M&A.
Well, I started with a software company similar to Dean many years ago. I won't say how many. And we grew through acquisition, made two acquisitions. I was in operations, but then switched to CFO work. And the last 17 years, I've been doing CF work with about 30 transactions.
Wow, impressive. My experience goes pretty far back. I was on the merger integration team when Burroughs bought Sperry to form Unisys back in the late 80s. And having that on my resume got me recruited into the cable TV business, where I was assembling acquisitions that the company had made in Ohio and South Carolina until I was glad to be becoming CFO of Time Warner Tampa Bay, where we did acquisitions there, and both also in my role as Bright House's Florida CFO. So we got a lot of experience to impart to our audience. Let's get right into the questions. Dean, what are some good reasons for business owners to consider acquiring or merging with another company?
I think a good one is that a company that has a distribution network set up and has a good set of products and services for that can expand the product and services offering by acquiring a company that has different solutions and levering the distribution channels it already has. I think that's a great one. Another one is one that I was involved in, which was we had new products and limited distribution outside the United States, and had an opportunity to acquire a company strong in Europe, but with very old and dying products, and was available in a distressed sales situation. And that was a good acquisition experience as well. Added tremendous value.
Oh, good ones. You know, one of my favorites that I wasn't involved in, but just watching as a customer, is when Amazon acquired Ring. If you think how porch pirates could have threatened the existence of Amazon's core business, that was a pretty cool one to watch. The strategy is a big part of it. Don, what about you? Good reasons, bad reasons to acquire companies?
Well, good reasons similar to Dean, but I'll start with bad reasons first. The big one that I've seen in my career is when companies feel they have to acquire or merge, either for reasons of growth or reasons of market competition, but they feel they have to and they're not ready for it. That's a road to failure in quite a few cases. And we've seen that in the tech world. I've seen a few deals where a tech company will buy another one because they think it's imperative, and then they immediately write down tons of value. So I would argue that you can't. Although I'm going to give advice later that maybe contradicts it, I think one reason is just because you think you have to.
And case in point for you, when Burroughs bought Sperry in 1987. It was the merging of two $5 billion companies that wanted to threaten IBM. not realizing that they were both about ready to be threatened by a couple of young disruptors named Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. And within 2 years, that merger was called Mating of the Dinosaurs. Something I had to exit quickly from.
Sure.
So let me go with you, Dean. What advice can you share about conducting due diligence?
Well, I think it starts with having a good checklist of questions and areas to get information. And we at the Florida CFO group have our own checklists from our experiences. In addition, good law firms that are involved in M&A have checklists, and accounting firms have checklists. So getting one of those is important to make sure you're thorough. Another thing that's quite productive is setting up a data room to make it easy for all your stakeholders to see all the information rapidly and be able to react to it and probe further. Getting the professionals of M&A lawyers and accounting firms involved with you in the due diligence process. They can uncover things quickly that from their perspective and knowing and their knowledge of your business, knowing what's important to you. And then I think it's important to focus on revenue and the revenue plan. If it's a small number of customers, then you should make arrangements to go and talk to the customers of the company you're considering acquiring. They should be able to arrange that. And just get a good sense that what's going to happen to the revenue from this company once you acquire it, because you don't want any surprises.
That's a good list. Don, I'm guessing you have something to add to it.
Well, two things from what I've learned in my career. The first one is I use a red, yellow, green system with due diligence, meaning as I go through some of the checklists, if I don't find any problems, I don't go too deep to try to save time. But if I start seeing a few problems, it's a yellow. And if I see major problems, it's a red. It kind of streamlines the due diligence process. And then the second tip I have is make sure you have some people from your integration team on the due diligence team. I can't tell you the number of times that's either saved a deal or made the integration part go faster.
And Don, I thought you were going to add this about assessing the cyber risk. I know you're a big tech geek, cybersecurity guy, but I know from my cybersecurity friends that pre-acquisition is a time to really do some inspection, penetration testing to make sure you know what you're getting into from a cyber risk perspective.
Yeah, that's so true, Phil. But at the same time, I do the litmus test and find out whether or not they even have any risk, and then I go and see if they have any experts on site. And if they have very little risk and they have experts, I kind of let that topic alone, at least for due diligence.
Dean, what advice can you share about negotiating a good M&A deal?
Well, I think it starts with having a thorough due diligence process, as we were discussing, and then focus on the key points from the seller's perspective. Focus on them head on so that you're addressing what's important to them. From your due diligence, there may be critical things that are important to happen after closing, and you can put them in the closing papers and put escrow funds tied to them to make sure they're completed. Another one that I found very important is identify who the key employees are of the company you're acquiring and make sure you get retention bonuses for them, because you don't want to go through all the effort of acquiring the company only to see the brain trust of the company move off. So those are a few things.
I think one thing I've learned through my deal history is that deal heat can be pretty powerful, and the best remedy for it is a BATNA, working to come up with the best alternative to negotiated agreement. That's that acronym BATNA. That knowing what the plan B is helps you put guardrails on how much it's been on plan A. And many times, instead of buying your way into the market, if deal heat drives prices up so high, business owners quickly learn if they have a good pre-analysis on what it would cost to enter the market themselves, they know that sometimes organic growth is better than acquired growth. Don, you got anything to add on the subject?
Just, the old KISS acronym, keep it simple and straightforward. I've seen people spend way too much time on earn-out agreements and so on. And really, if you just keep it as simple as possible, that's the best way to get a good M&A deal negotiated.
Good. Okay, Don, you mentioned your experience with integrating acquired properties. What advice do you have to share with business owners who are about ready to integrate an acquired business into theirs?
Well, key number one is both what I teach and what I practice when I consult is to get the integration team involved in the due diligence process. I can't, that is invaluable when it comes time to integration because there's no surprises for the integration team that they have to deal with after the fact. And that's the key piece of takeaway and key piece of advice for integration for me.
Very good. Dean, what you got to add to that?
I'd second that strongly. Getting joint integration meetings of both the acquired company and your company together to get everybody on the same page and get some excitement about the prospects of the new company going forward. You don't want people to think, oh gosh, things are going to change and it's not going to be as good. You really want to foster a sense of excitement and anticipation because that gets creative juices going for everybody.
So true.
No doubt. I think it's easy for the acquirer to underestimate the psychological impact on the acquired. Of course, the owner gets a big fat check and he's happy, but the workforce tends to feel like they're in an occupied country and they're disrespected and on the block. And businesses that acquire properties for their talent are especially at risk of departures from not being sensitive to that feeling and reacting strongly to it by really and understanding, having meaningful conversations with the leadership of the acquired company so they can have a say in their future role in the merged entity. That's so critical because the valuation that you just paid for as the acquirer is driven by the talent, and if that talent goes away, you overpaid. So, any good experiences to share and any quick stories? We got about extra minute to fill here. Don, Dean, any favorite M&A stories?
Wow, good M&A stories. I have a lot of bad ones sometimes, but I would say one of the good ones I had is of course whenever everybody agrees and the deal gets done and everybody's happy with it. I had one recently where I sold a SaaS company and everybody walked away from the table feeling exceptionally happy with the outcome. That's usually a good story.
And I know part of that is because there's a psychology in structuring a deal that the longer you wait, the more they can go bad. Speed kills, but is what they say. It's actually the inverse is true. Lack of speed kills deals, right?
Well, that's true. And as a one sentence advice, be nimble, be quick, and be ready to walk away on the buy side. You shouldn't have to spend 12 months doing a due diligence on a $2 million buy. And I've seen that happen before. And then the buyer or the seller walks away. Right. So be nimble, be quick, and like I said, be ready to walk away.
Good advice. Dean, do you have a one sentence takeaway for our audience?
Yeah. Buying a company that expands your products, services, or geographic market reach can really supercharge your growth.
Very good. And let me leave the audience with this takeaway, that experienced financial leadership always matters, but probably never matters more than when you're buying an integrating company.
So
partners, enjoyed this talk. Thank you for getting the month of April going with Coffee Talk number 16. Hope our audience comes back next week when we talk about CFOs and sell-side M&A. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.